Samsung's Galaxy S26 Series might be the most boring camera non-upgrade, or probably the coolest one in the industry, depending on who you ask. OpenAI just went full emergency mode with an announcement of a new version of ChatGPT after Google showed what Gemini 3 can do. Google is experimenting with a new type of browser that might reinvent how we use AI. Apple just launched a ton of software updates and within some leaks of what's next for its hardware. And yes, Google's Pixel 10a might end up being more than a boring update this year. I'm Jaime Rivera, and by the way, episode 2 of our Technically There podcast with Josh is live, with episode 3 coming next week as we ran into some delays. Apologies for that. Hope to see you there. And in the meantime, let's go through these 5 interesting topics. This is Tech Briefing powered by MediaTek. We have a lot of official news today, so let's begin with how competitive artificial intelligence continues to get. OpenAI has unveiled ChatGPT 5.2, a rapid follow-up to GPT 5.1, and probably the company's fastest turnaround between major upgrades. The release reportedly stems from a code red response to Google's newest Gemini models, prompting OpenAI to accelerate deployment by several weeks. Now described as its most capable model series yet for professional knowledge work, GPT 5.2 focuses heavily on real-world task execution rather than just conversational improvements. According to OpenAI, GPT 5.2 delivers major gains in areas like spreadsheet creation, presentation building, coding, long context reasoning, image understanding, and automated tool use. It sets a new industry benchmark on GDP Val, outperforming experts across 44 professional occupations in well-defined tasks. The model also improves intelligence, vision, capability, and end-to-end problem solving for complex, multi-step projects. This upgrade arrives unusually fast after GPT-5 launched in August, GPT 5.1 and followed in November. GPT 5.2 is now appearing in less than a month. OpenAI published the full announcement along with new science math benchmarks and an updated system card detailing GPT 5.2's expanded capabilities. Are you more of a ChatGPT or a Gemini user? Let me know in the comments because I use more Gemini. And speaking of competition, let's talk about what Google is doing, as the company has begun to tackle what others are trying to do in AI. The company is testing a new browser called Disco, but this is actually a different kind of browser than what other AI companies are trying to build around chatbots. It uses an AI feature called GenTabs to turn your searches into full-blown interactive mini-apps. So instead of just giving you text results, Disco opens a set of relevant tabs and then builds a custom interface based on what you're trying to do, like a travel planner, a flashcard tool, or even a simple anatomy model. As you keep browsing and opening more tabs, the GenTab updates itself with the new information, creating a back and forth workflow between your research and the AI-generated tool. Now, it's hard to know if this will be the future of Chrome, though, as that team still isn't sure what GenTabs should ultimately become. They're experimenting with whether these generated apps should be permanent or disposable, shareable like Google Docs, or just quick helpers you close when you're done. The bigger question is where Disco fits in the Google product lineup, but for now it's in Google Labs as an invite-only experiment. What makes Disco stand out is that it encourages actual web browsing instead of replacing it, blending AI and the open internet into a more interactive kind of experience. I'm curious to know what you think it should do in the comments, because I honestly think it's genius. Now let's switch to Apple, as the company has really begun to accelerate its updates to its software, mainly because, let's be real, the competition has gotten aggressive, but also within this topic, there were some leaks in hardware. So let's start with the basics. Just, weeks after version 26.1, Apple has just launched iOS, iPadOS, macOS, watchOS 26.2, etc. iOS 26.2 introduces reminder alarms, more customizable lock screen time opacity, enhanced AirDrop verification codes, and we wonder what that means, and improvements to Apple Music, podcast, and gaming. iPadOS 26.2 expands on the platform's new multitasking system, letting users drag applications into tiled views, slide over, or adjustable windows directly from the dock or Spotlight. macOS Tahoe 26.2 adds Edge Light for better lighting during video calls, improved podcast navigation, and updates to Apple News, Freeform, and AirDrop. watchOS 26.2 redefines sleep score qualifications, improves safety alerts, fixes music app app playback issues and rounds out the update cycle with general performance and reliability improvements. But as for the leaks, remember all the rumors on Apple's AirTag 2? Well, internal data on this iOS 26 build share more on what's changing. We hear improvements in pairing, battery accuracy, motion tracking, and performance in crowded places. The update references an improved moving feature designed to provide precise location feedback even while the tag is in motion, plus enhancements likely tied to a next-generation ultra-wideband chip. The new AirTag is still expected to retain the same design, though rumors point to stronger speakers that are harder to tamper with. Codenames suggest that Apple originally targeted a 2025 launch, but expectations now point to early 2026. The same build also highlights Apple's upcoming smart home hub, which might include a 1080p camera, Face ID based on profile switching, and support for the more advanced Siri and Apple Intelligence expected on iOS 26.4. So yeah, early next year for all of this. Are you excited about any of these products? Let me know in the comments. Now let's switch to Google, as I'm still scratching my head over what the company is doing with their Pixel 10a series. If you remember, I recently reported that there won't be much of a change in this phone's design, which, I mean, is fine. At its price, you can't ask for much. Now we're hearing that it might pretty much be the exact same phone in almost every way. We're hearing of a recent batch of leaks from a Verizon certification that got shared by Evan Blass that it'll sport the same 6.28-inch AMOLED, 120Hz refresh rate, a 13-megapixel selfie camera, and the back has the same 48-megapixel primary and 13-megapixel ultrawide. I hope they're better sensors, but we don't know. We had covered before that it might bring the Tensor G4 again, and we also hear of 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, so yeah. Like, what's the update? Battery is also slated to be 5100 milliamp hours at 23-watt charging. Pretty much the only thing that could change is the dimensions. Maybe the phone is getting slightly smaller with more efficiency on the bezels that have always been all over the place with this lineup. Whatever the case may be, I'm also hoping for a cheaper price tag to justify the non-change. I'm curious to know if you're okay with this in the comments if they made it more affordable. Now, before we get to the hottest news, let me tell you about today's sponsor, MediaTek. The Moto Edge is the company's latest premium flagship, matched with great looks and amazing feel in the hand thanks to its premium materials, and also Motorola's latest collaboration with MediaTek on its Dimensity 7400 Ultra. Its 4nm architecture enables powerful experiences like the great color reproduction the 6.7-inch curved display provides. It's capable of all the cool improvements in Moto AI, its chip efficiencies allow for all the endurance you need with 2-day battery life, and we have an ISP that delivers great photography from its triple camera system. It's the reason Motorola continues to choose MediaTek year over year. Thanks to MediaTek for sponsoring this video. And finally, for the most interesting news today, let's talk about Samsung, because this could either be a really boring update or hopefully good depending on who you ask. We had two sets of rumors that are really conflictive. On one end, let's start with the possible boring part, which claims that Samsung is set to continue its streak of camera consistency on the baseline Galaxy S series. According to a new report from The Elec in South Korea, the Galaxy S26 will reuse the exact same camera hardware found in the Galaxy S25, which itself reused the S24 setup and the S23 before it. Yeah, no, that's definitely not a good idea with how aggressive the iPhone 17 and Pixel 10 have been, and it seems there was a plan for an upgrade, but the iPhone 17 retaining its price threw that possibility out the window. But as for the interesting part, another rumor claims Samsung is developing a new global shutter level camera sensor, which is designed to fix a long-standing shutter lag and motion blur issue that we've complained about Galaxy phones for years, and pretty much most smartphones. Now, if you don't know what this is, think of what the new Sony A9 Mark III does, where there is a full and immediate sensor readout instead of the top-down approach we currently have, which leads to rolling shutter issues. The problem is that this demands a lot of processing power, which smartphones have kind of fixed a lot better than certain mirrorless cameras, but has the benefit of crazy possibilities in burst photography. I'm not saying it'll be ready for the Galaxy S26, but this is about that time when we get rumors of a new camera sensor before they get officially announced, and seriously, what else would be the reason Samsung is risking keeping the same sensors for a fourth year in a row? In today's question, let me know. What would you like to see on the Galaxy S26 series? Because in my case, it seriously would be upgrades to the camera, but I'm curious to know what you think in the comments. Friends, thanks so much for joining another episode of Tech Briefing. Please like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments as you've seen me try to respond to as many as I can. Also, follow me on social media as more behind-the-scenes work continues to happen there because, by the way, quick reminder, episode 2 of our Technically There podcast with Josh is now live. Episode 3 is coming next week. We ran into some delays. Apologies for that. Would appreciate your support there as well. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.